Hey everyone. So it is absolutely downpouring here. We're in the middle of a thunderstorm, so hopefully I don't lose internet or power, I guess. Yeah, it's absolutely coming down right now. Gotta love living in the southeast. Just developed out of nowhere. Alright, so I figured out what I wanted to go over tonight. And I definitely want to do the georeference command. And then after that, which I think I've already covered georeference quickly one time before, but I also want to do the background images. All right, so this job, I'm doing this job filling in for someone who their normal model builder was too busy, so it's a real simple, quick job. So it was really simple, rough grading project. You know, nothing's too special, but the owner of this company has all Trimble equipment, but he has never he didn't know that he even had this background images function, and a lot of people don't. Most generic model builders don't include that. They don't include that in their service. A lot of them don't even know that it exists. But being that I research a lot of Trimble products, and especially SiteWorks and all their features that they offer, I like to include that because I really think it's the best thing that they've come out with in a while. It's really pretty simple. So I've got one plan sheet reference to begin with. I'm going to reference a couple more, so I think I still have all the CAD layers in here. So I just separated the PDFs, and I'm just going to drag the two of them in. One of them is going to be the existing survey, and then one of them is going to be the erosion plan. Not normally stuff that I include, but alright. So first going to go to my Project Explorer at the bottom. We go to Imported Files, and I've already got the grading plan imported, so just going to click on this first one, right click it, and then I always do georeference vector PDF. It doesn't actually have to be a vector PDF to work. I always pick that option because it gives you a chance to clip it if you want to. Alright, so first thing I always do is highlight both my pages, and then I'm going to change that display style to dimmed. I did download TBC version 5.31, so some of my stuff got reset. Common complaint. So I'm not going to apply a clipping boundary to this because there's really no need. There's only one view. So I'm just going to start by picking a pixel here. This one's kind of tough because there's not much on these plans. I'm just going to guess to get it close and then see if something else lines up better. So I'll pick this down here. I'll just pick a random spot. I'm going to turn back on some of my layers for my CAD file, and I should definitely find something that lines up. Yeah, this one's tough because I probably could have brought in the other existing survey CAD file. Let me see if I can look at my other georeference PDF. So I'm going to change both of these to be, I'm going to change their transparency to 40%. So I should see, if I turn both of them off, I can see if I cycle between them, I can see where I might be off a little bit. So yeah, I can see a common line. So I'm going to pick this first one again. So pixel B, I'm going to change that one. So I'm going to pick this pixel, and it looked like it was the end of this line. That looks a little bit better. So I got both of them on in the background. So I'm going to highlight both the ones I'm referencing and turn them off. So it looks like this corner here, I can maybe try that. That looks like it's probably pretty close. It might not be perfect, but I might spend a little time later. Yeah, actually I can see. Oh, I probably can use that for my second one. Pick the end of that. This line here, and yep, that lined up perfect there, so that should be good. So I'm going to go through the georeference, or the capture image command first. I'm going to actually, let me see if this I'll try to reference the second one quickly now that I just did one of them. But once I'm done showing this, if you have Trimble equipment, you'll be able to if you have business access to Business Center, see your plan sheets right behind your line work right on your data collector, as long as you have a TSC 7 or the 10-inch tablet. Same line didn't show up, but we'll see what we can do. Yeah, it looks like it might be it. I'll probably check it later. So first thing you want to do is you want to take off all of your layers when you do this image capture. So I'm going to turn off everything that I have on. It must be silk fence. Alright, so you want to start with a clean slate. Come up to your image in PDF. I keep forgetting to post my ribbon and template that I use. I got to remember to do that. So what you want to do is you want to create a plot box. I think you might have to, maybe not, but I always do. This job was so small, I left all the CAD layers. I didn't start a new sheet like I normally do. I'm gonna do borders, my borders layer. I don't care about the name. So this part's real simple. You don't need to overcomplicate this step. So the width, you can click twice to create a distance for the width. So I just pick the top left corner. I'm just gonna do the full PDF top right corner. So that just set a width of 32.8 inches, which doesn't matter at all in this situation. And then for height, I'm just gonna click top left and then bottom left to get my height, which happened to be 21.2 inches, but whatever. Location, bottom left, lower left corner, it says it right here on the screen. Click here. Go up to the top. It's asking me for the rotation, so this is the rotation is the left side, up and down. So the steps that I just did will create what you need. So you can see this plot box is around the whole image. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit. So I always prefer to export using the dimmed image. It makes things look so much nicer on the data collector. The white image is, to me, that's just too bright. It's too hard to see. And you can adjust the transparency, which I think will lighten it up, but I prefer to just do it this way. But you have to follow a couple steps and make sure you use the right formats. So it's still in image and PDF. So we just hit plot box, and now for capture, the capture command is the next command we're going to use. All you have to do is click on the border and then hit capture. If you don't click on the border when you hit capture, I believe, well, select plot box. So I never named it. It's new plot box. If I click in here twice, I can click on the plot box and it'll switch it. I'll do that one more time. So after I hit capture, if there's no plot box selected, I think it captures your screen, which we don't want to do. So if you click on here once, twice, and then you click on your plot box in case you have, a dozen of them, it'll highlight that. So then this is important on a job this small and the PDF that's not very, not a large PDF. I always do very high resolution. I do plan on toying around with vector versus raster PDFs to see if it makes a difference in the file size, because if you get a really large job with a lot of line work, the size will be too big for the data collector to handle. So very high resolution, and then this is the important step. You go to file name and you click your three dots to change it. I'm going to go into the project. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it into my synchronizer data. So I'm going to put it. So these are the jobs that I have on my computer for my SiteWorks emulator. So I'm gonna hit the job that it's in. So I'm in the project. So you got designs, work orders, and all you do here is you create a new folder, and it's background images. And I don't know if the capitals matter for this one, but I believe it's capital B and capital I. So that's the folder that you need for your data collector to recognize it. Also, I think it's version 1.2 of SiteWorks that you need. Someone would have to confirm that with SiteWorks or Trimble. I think it's version 1.2 if your warranty's up to date. Update your, if you've paid for your warranty, I believe you need to, then you can update your SiteWorks to the newest version. So in background images, this is where I'm going to place this. I'm going to name it what this is, which is the existing conditions, which I almost never have a need to include, but for the sake of this live stream, I'm going to include it and give it to this contractor. So existing conditions. Now, the format matters, and I've tried every one of them to see the different sizes, and the only one that seems to work with the dimmed background images, and in a second when I go into the emulator, you'll see why it's so important to have that dimmed image, at least in my opinion. But the one that works the best is a GIF, so .gif. So you have to select that when you're telling it where to save the file. So if you just hit save, now that hitting save does not write the image to that folder. So you've just saved the location where you want to write the file. All you have to do is hit apply. And it's going to load for a minute. In a second, it'll spit out the size of the file that was created. And I forget how large of a size doesn't work. On the TSC 7s, I believe 7 megabytes per image was too much. That's why it's something in the future something I need to mess with, see if I can figure out which format combination and what type of PDF will give the smallest file size. So this is actually taking a lot longer to write this file, and it's probably because I'm live streaming off my computer as well. Hopefully it shouldn't be an overly large file. The color on this may make a difference. Usually if it takes this long, it writes a file the size that's just too big. I'm surprised it's taking this long. Close out a few programs, give my computer a break. Gap in the thunderstorm, but it looks like it's here to stay. No, didn't write it. Let me see if I can pull up the emulator, and well, that's figuring itself out. Now let's pick a different job, show the background images. So you can, if you use Trimble, you can get these emulators from your local SiteWorks dealer. They don't charge anything; they'll give them for free. It helps to learn the software before you actually go out in the field. So I'm going to pick a job. I'm going to pick a job that already has background images. So all the emulator does, if you don't know, it just creates a fake data collector on your computer. It fakes that it's connected to a GPS head. If you click, it'll actually put you on the map. The elevation's always, usually it picks your design elevation. So I'm going to zoom into this part of the job. Alright, so this is a little bit older of an emulator, I think. But all you got to do is you got to hit settings. Your settings gear cog to the right, and then images at the top. This one I'm going to pick the pick the site plan. I'm going to hit accept. And that's what it looks like. So if you were out in the field, you were staking this curb, and you were standing right there, this is exactly what you'd see. So there's a lot of people that use Trimble software that use the tablet style data collectors, and they do not know that you can do this. I like the dimmed images because I think it makes the line work pop out a little bit better. This is a really dark section. Of most plans don't have sections this dark. But here, here's your entire plan sheet, and as you walk around on the job, you can see the plan. This is great for not missing things. It's always there if you want to take a look at it. So in these emulators, you can even you can stake an object. I name every line. Always name lines. Stake edge of pavement. Stake a line. Put it on random. It's showing me I have these configured to offset 3 feet, and it even cycles through a horizontal tolerance. They make it pretty realistic. One more thing, there's one other thing you'll see on here that you won't see, that you probably won't see on many other models, is these arrows on the surface that show where the water's flowing. I have to do that manually. It's maybe a different week I'll go over how to do that. But if you export a surface in Business Center with these slope arrows turned on, if you have to export that surface to DXF, you can bring it back into your data collector as a sitemap. So all these slope arrows are they're part of the sitemap right now. So if I were to try to stake one of these objects, there's nothing to stake. The only thing it wants to stake is the design. Or actually, no, it wants to stake the surface, but it's not actually picking any of these as lines because they're part of the sitemap, which is not. It's just something that's in the background. I forget how to turn that off. If you want to turn it off, you go into Design, and I think it's Project Map. Business Center calls it Sitemap. Yep. So now all those arrows are gone. Sometimes the contractor gets annoyed at seeing those arrows in their design. I like seeing them if I'm staking anything. It makes a lot of sense to know where your water's flowing in, and it helps catch if there's a mistake in the surface, a mistake in the design, or if you have to adjust a box or something and move a box around. It helps to see that. So design, project map, but that's something that I do manually. That there's no simplified workflow to do that in Business Center. But I write those right to the project map. You can see all the water. And if I made the slope arrow size smaller, you'd see more of them in the triangles that I have. Alright, I'm going to exit out of this. Yeah, I don't think Business Center. I don't think it liked that. So I'll go back through the folder again. So in your Trimble Synchronizer data, PC, SCS 900 data. And I'm going to check this just to see. Pick your site, your project, background images. I'll go to a different one. So every time you write an image to this folder, what it does is it writes 3 files. So it writes your image file, which you see here. It's able to be previewed in Windows. It writes a GFW, which is, I believe that is the file format that Trimble uses to read the georeference location of that image. So without that piece, it will not work. It also writes a KML, Google Earth. That is actually not required. You can delete those, but they are actually handy because I'll go to this now. Nope. Yeah. This location, if you don't have any calibration, you end up in the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm gonna pick a job that I have a might not have all the files. I deleted the KMLs there. Not usually, yeah, I usually delete the KMLs out. Trying to find one I forgot to delete. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll find one that was written with the control, or not with the control, with the calibration. Uh, Business Center's tied up, and it's probably because I'm live streaming. Uh, Usually, I never see the calibration for jobs that I do. Yeah, there's no calibration file. Well, we'll go back to the Atlantic Ocean. So Google Earth now actually supports you bringing a PDF into Google Earth. So now, if anyone's ever gotten this error where you end up in the ocean somewhere, it's because you need to at least at a minimum pick a coordinate system. And it's not going to let me zoom in that close because of the location. Trying to see if I can find one that had a control file in it. Oh, it's probably not going to be an image, probably be line work, of course. Yeah, it's cool to see the line work. If you ever want to export this, pretty simple function in Business Center. It always clamps it down. So it appears that it's on the surface. It's good information to have. See what's going to change on a job, especially when you have a real good 3D Google Earth. So what I can do here, so if you go up to settings, project settings at the top, you go to coordinate system, hit change. So this, I think this is Washington State North. So I don't like to put this coordinate system in here because it's going to write a calibration file or a type of calibration file when you export. So I'm not going to save this. There's some issues with it. So once you do that with your coordinate system, which what I normally do is I'll take the file out. I'll take the line work or PDF that I want to export, and I'll export it to a VCL, which is your file exchange for Business Center, and I'll bring it into a new file, and I'll change the coordinate system in that temporary file because I don't like adding coordinate systems to any of the jobs that I do. I'd rather they do the calibration the right way. Just off chance that someone tries to use this with just a generic coordinate system. I'm not sure if you even can do that, but I don't like to leave it that way. So here I can test it if I highlight all my line work. And same thing, it's up here in images, and you hit Google Earth, and it's Business Center makes it that easy. Hit Google Earth, and then it allows you to adjust the northing and easting, which you might want to do. After you bring it into Google Earth, you can adjust that if you want to tweak it a little bit, left and right, up and down. I always hit clamp to ground. And then you hit apply. It should bring Google Earth up, and it might prompt you. Yeah, it's really struggling doing the live stream. Probably gonna have to upgrade my desktop. Use that instead. So Google Earth's going to bring me to where I just brought the KML in. No, I shouldn't have exported this. I had way too many objects, but there it is, clamped right down to the ground. Some of the line work's still loading, but you can get a rough idea of clearing limits doing this. A rough idea, like this looks like a little minimal amount of clearing. So I'm at least in the right coordinate system here. So I'm going to see if this will write that image again. I'm going to try a lower setting just in case. So I'll walk through it again, just turn all the layers off. And I'll just go through it real fast. I'm going to create a plot box. I've already done this, but it didn't save. So width, click top left, top right, height, top left, bottom left, location, bottom left, rotation, match the vertical. It automatically adds it when you hit that step. You don't have to hit add. I'm going to go back. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hit capture. I'm going to do medium resolution. It's already on new plot box because I had the new plot box highlighted when I did this. Hit the three dots. I'm going to find the project, my synchronizer data. Call this grading plan. .gif. Save. We'll see if this works this time. Yep, 1 megabyte. So I'm going to go back into that folder. So let's see if this KML here of the grading plan, how that looks in Google Earth. Oh, good question, kids. So I just use the state plane coordinate system for that part of the country that I'm working in the United States. Most jobs are in one of the 83 or 27 coordinate system. So I just usually pick one till it looks right. If you can get some existing line work on there, that really helps. Yeah, looks like this lost some of its orientation when it got exported. Like I said, I don't do this very often. It's interesting that the 3D elements of this, you see your trees and everything. Yeah, WGS84. Well, I always start there. It's the most common. So that's pretty cool, but see, it wouldn't work before, but I got it to work this time in Business Center. The export that background image, so I can go back to SiteWorks if I want, back to my emulator to look at this job at least. Yeah, start with your WGS84 closest coordinate system. You can always look up each state on a map and see roughly where it's at. Use that coordinate system. If it doesn't work, try 1927. After that, really you need to do after that, you really just need to try, most likely it's a local coordinate system, and you're probably not going to get a match without a real calibration. Kids, do I know why it's normally WGS 84? Is that your question? Why it normally is that? Yeah, this is what it'll tell you if you're in on site. Do you want to calibrate the project? So again, we've got the background image in the folder. Hit your settings, images, display background image. I always pick 100%. It says image transparency. I don't know if anyone at Trimble knows they got it backwards. This is not 100% transparency, 0% transparency, I think. Grading plan, hit accept. And there's that image. You can see the contour lines, how they've lined up. Kids, your question. The land surveyors use the same coordinate system. Here at Texas, like NAD 83. I'll be honest, I am not the person you want to ask about coordinate systems. There's so many more people out there that are well versed in that field. I am not. But that is the latest. I don't know if it's called the published coordinate system or national coordinate system. I'm not sure what they call it. I assume national's in there in that acronym somewhere. That's the most recent one to be published. They're a new one's coming out very shortly. So that's why most designs are done in the latest coordinate system. Some of them are done in the older one, depending on I assume it's depending on the initial survey coordinate system for what they receive for the job. I assume that would dictate what coordinate system they use. Thankful for the engineers who send their surveyors or hired surveyors out and get their job into the latest coordinate system. It just makes so many other things easier. So here's the background image. In the emulator, the contractor will now be able to see this while he's on the job. We'll walk around right on top of his plan sheet and see where he's at. It's an awesome feature from Trimble. I wish more people knew about it and used it. It's really not that difficult to do in Business Center. If anyone wanted, if they wanted these background images generated, I would charge a very small fee to take your DXF and your plans and reference them and then export them so you can use them in your data collectors. Most model builders, they're not specific to one system. I just happen to have more experience with Trimble, and I use Trimble software. So most of your model builders are not going to include this, and they're not even going to know about it. But if anyone wants this done, I'll do it for a really small fee. All I need is a DXF of line work in a coordinate system and PDFs, and you saw how quick it is. It doesn't take long to do this. So I'll probably think about ending it here, unless anyone has any questions or wants anything clarified. As always, this will be posted. Some point I to start chopping these up and making little edited videos out of them so people can just directly follow how to georeference an image, and then how to export a capture image into a background image for SiteWorks. So this contractor didn't know he was getting a geo background image for this. He didn't even know it existed. So of course, will provide it to him at no charge. It only takes a few minutes. I always build off the plans in the background anyway. So yeah, unless someone has any questions, I'll wrap it up in a few minutes, couple minutes. So some of the missing steps, if you joined late, this didn't work when I exported the image. I just geo-referenced a couple of these PDFs. Always highlight them in Project Explorer down here. Highlight the PDFs, go to Properties, and then I always change them to dimmed. So I didn't bring all the line work in. It was this job was separate CAD files. It's actually pretty close. Alex had a question. Can you try georeferencing line work, not the PDF? So that's actually a really good question. So I assume what you're referring to is probably when you're doing a takeoff and you bring line work out of it, where you import vector PDF data or trace over your PDFs, and they're not in any coordinate system, and you want to try to bring them and georeference them into a coordinate system. You'd have to have some reference points. If there are control points that have coordinates on them on the PDFs that you can import alongside that line work, which it almost seems like there never are any control points referenced. I mean, it's hit or miss. Some jobs I still see northings and eastings on every corner of everything. Those jobs like that, absolutely. You absolutely could do that. And then the best way to do that is to go to Edit, and then Modify under the Modify tab here by points. So So what that does is that allows you to move selected objects from and to. So if you had trying to think of how. So if you had a control point, if you made a point out of a control point from a plan sheet, but it was close to coordinate 0, 0, but then you realize, oh, these control points have coordinates given in the plans. What you would do is you would create 2 points at the actual coordinates given on those control points. So then you would have 4 total points. You'd have 2 points that are close to 0, 0 from your referenced PDFs or from your imported PDFs. Then you'd have 2 points that are, way up in that coordinate system where they're supposed to be. You would highlight all of your line work, including the 2 points within your line work, and then you'd use this command from and to. So the from would be point 1 and point 2, and then the 2 would be that same control point, but in the correct coordinate system. It'll tell you the scale factor of that. It'll tell you the angle that it's rotating, and then you can just hit OK, and it will rotate. It'll rotate all of your line work using 2 points. Usually they're control points. I had to do that on a job recently. It was let's see, the grading was designed in AutoCAD alongside the building plan, so it was in everything was 90 degrees to the foundation of the building. None of it was in a coordinate system, but they gave a lot of good control points, and I picked 2 of the primary control, and I did exactly what I just went over and rotated all my line work right into my coordinate system. You'd only need 2 points to do that. Hopefully that answered your question. Unfortunately, a lot of jobs do not give coordinate system information, any coordinates on their plans. I'd say most jobs I work on do not give you any coordinate information. I always request from the designer a CSV of, I always say a .csv or .txt of the coordinates for the control points used in the project. If you ask it that way, they almost always send it directly to the surveyor because a lot of engineers don't understand the formatting and things like that. So a lot of times at bid time you don't have access to the designers, so you're not able to do that. But hopefully that answered your question. Kids, yeah, I got a good project I can use as an example for line elevations on like islands, things like that. If I don't know what kids, I've noticed you follow. You've been on I think every live stream. If there's a project that you work on and there's something you want to see, you can send me the files and I'll just do it. If you're here every week, I'd be more than happy to use a direct example for you at least, and use that as an example, something I've never even seen before. Alex had a question. Why were you going back and forth with SiteWorks program? What does it do differently? So SiteWorks is the software that the data collectors use while you're surveying. So that program was what they call an emulator, which is it's basically a program that's faking what it's like to be out in the field with a data collector. So that program actually runs. On your data collector, and you see that in the field. There's a version that SiteWorks releases that lets you do it on the computer, so you can test designs to make sure that they're going to work in the field and load correctly. So I'm not actually using SiteWorks to do anything. All I was doing was showing what it's like to be in the field, where you can see your plan sheet beneath your line work when you're staking lines. Oh, hey Omar. Yeah, of course I remember. We talked a couple times. So Omar, if even if you do all your work in Civil 3D, if you export it, I don't know if you can how easy it is to export DXF, uh, but if you set polygraphics, I'm not going to open Civil 3D because I know my computer will probably crash. Polygraphics, proxy graphics. It's one of those. If you type that command, and it's going to say by default it's a value of 0, and you do a value of 1, uh, then hit enter. It doesn't change anything for your file, but it allows me to import it into Business Center a little bit better. But there's no reason why I can't use a DWG and bring it into Business Center, even if it's a CAD file from the original designer. But that one setting is important for dragging into Business Center. Yeah, no problem, Alex. That's what it's like to be in the what it's like in the field with with that version of software on Trimble's equipment. Uh, it's cool. You can test it and see how it works before you ever get out in the field. Get a little bit of seat time on the software. But I use it to check everything just to make sure everything's going to run correctly. I'm just going to may as well do this SWIP plan so the contractor has it if it's any use to them. They've never used background images before, so. I'm going to try it on high resolution, which I normally do, or very high. Yeah, maybe the very high is too much. I don't know. Probably try it after I close out all my streaming software. So, all right. Any last questions? All right, I'll stay in the chat for a few more minutes, but thanks everyone for watching. We'll do it again next week. I'm always open to taking any files that anyone wants to send and go through specific problems. I'll do anything, even if it's something that helps your job, just to show how Business Center works and what I do. So have a good rest of the week, everyone, and see you next time.